Welcome back to the Get Loved Up podcast, your number one resource for inspiration and motivation to live your purpose, make healthy living a priority, and thrive doing what you love. I'm your host, Koya Webb, a small town girl who chased her dreams and caught them, a former track and field athlete who healed using spirituality and yoga, and an entrepreneur who didn't let sexual assault, racism, and insecurities dim her light. And now it's your turn to allow these episodes with some of the top voices in spirituality, wellness, and entrepreneurship to inspire you to thrive. Let's get loved up together. Hey, it's your girl Koya, and welcome back to the Get Loved Up podcast. I am so excited to have you back, and I'm so grateful for all the reviews you've been leaving. It means the world to me when you leave me a review, when you share your takeaways on Instagram. I just really love it. So thank you so much for being active. It feels so good to be back. And today I have an amazing guest and friend I want to introduce you to. Her name is Afya Ibomu. She is a holistic nutritionist and author, the president of RBG FIT CLUB.com, and has been plant-based since 1990. Afya is certified in holistic health and holds a bachelor's degree in nutrition. Her fourth book, Vegan Remix, was named one of the best vegan cookbooks of the year by Vegetarian Times Magazine, and her third book, Vegan Soul Food Guide to the Galaxy, was nominated for an African American Literary Award for Cookbook of the Year. Afya is also the author of Get Your Crochet On, a pattern book series, and the co-author of Eat Plants, Lift Iron. Afya is a celebrity nutritionist, chef, and crochet designer working with hip-hop artists such as Erykah Badu, Common, Dead Prez, and Talib Kweli. She is also the co-host of RBG FIT Club podcast and has been featured in The Source magazine, The Black Girls Rock book, and the Feel Rich movie, and more. Afya currently conducts cooking demos and classes and teaches nutrition workshops and is an avid gardener and yogi. She lives in Atlanta with her husband, Stick of Dead Prez, and her two sons, Ituela and Nkosua. Afya!
Koya, how are you?
I am so amazing. And it's just so good to see you. It's been way too long. We have not seen each other since the pandemic. And before that, it had been at least a year, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think the last time I saw you was maybe at your hotel when you were teaching a class.
Yes. Oh, was that, where were we at?
Well, no, it wasn't a hotel. It was an apartment across from Ponce City Market. And you had a class and I came by.
Yes, that was, yes, you're absolutely right. That was our Atlanta yoga teacher training. And that was so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell y'all, this is my best and greatest reminiscence of this woman. I came to her house. By the way, she is a powerhouse mamapreneur. She is doing all the things. She invited me over for breakfast. She had fruit, she had pancakes, she had just elaborate spread for brunch. And I just fell in love with her because I'm like, food is definitely the way to my heart. And not only were we just talking and vibing in the sun together, and she has an amazing soul and spirit that you just feel the sunshine from her every time you're in her presence. But this woman can throw down. This woman can cook. So if you're like, vegan don't taste good, you need to talk to Afya because she's going to let you know, I got you. And it's going to taste good. I mean, where did you learn how to cook great vegan food? We'll start there.
Well, I've been cooking on and off since I was a kid. I actually wanted to be a chef when I was a kid. But when I became vegan, I actually became vegan. I was vegetarian first, just trying to heal myself. I was very sick as a kid. I was on all types of medications. I had allergies, asthma, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic dehydration, just all kind of stuff. And then when I was a teenager at the age of 15, my mother finally found a doctor that was like, it could be the foods that I was eating. So that was kind of the first time I put together my food and the food I was consuming and my health. And then KRS-One had a song out at that time called Beef about being a vegetarian. That was a long time ago. So telling my age a little bit, but so I was vegetarian for about 6 years. And then I became vegan when I moved to Brooklyn, New York. And my husband actually got gout at a very young age. We were in our early 20s. And once he got gout, I had met Queen Afua and just learned, a lot from her about fasting and cleansing and herbs and being a vegan. And then once he got gout, I was like, we are going to become vegan now. We're going to figure this out. We're going to heal you naturally. And once I became vegan, I had to start cooking more because, there wasn't a lot for us to eat. And it was Brooklyn, so there was options, but I had to figure it out and start reading my labels and just really practicing cooking vegan. I took a few cooking classes and then started there. Yeah.
That is amazing. You can definitely tell you put your heart and your soul into food. And I actually didn't know that's why you became vegan. So can you talk a little bit about the healing journey? And all people are always asking, how long does it take? And I know it takes a different time for everyone. But what was the healing journey, especially, making this commitment with your husband, your partner? How did that healing journey transform your life?
Well, this was 30 plus years ago that I became a vegetarian. So we didn't have internet. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have Google. We didn't have any of that stuff. So as a teenager, I kind of was just trying to figure it out the best way I could. And then when we moved to Brooklyn, there was a community of people that really helped. So we moved to Crown Heights, Brooklyn, where there's a large Rasta and Caribbean community who has been done on the Ital living and the herbs and the roots and, all of that stuff was going on. It was like a really kind of a renaissance, a health renaissance and a music renaissance and an art renaissance in Brooklyn in the mid to late 90s. And so Brooklyn helped really cultivate us in a space that was educational because there was all kind of herb stores up and down Nostrand Avenue where we lived, all kind of vegetarian restaurants. And so once my husband got gout, he just trusted me to, figure it out. And he, the doctors were just telling him he was going to be on medication for the rest of his life. And because I had kind of gotten off medication by that time, all of my asthma stuff and all of that, I was like, I know there is a better way. I've always had an inkling in me that felt like, and I feel like this today with anything, like there's always another way. If someone says no, or you can't or whatever, I'm like, yeah, we can probably figure it out. It's probably another way to do this stuff. And so he trusted me with that process and we figured it out. And I did a lot of reading and researching and experimenting, and it took him not very long, to heal. And I started to really see the healing power of plants through Brooklyn. And really, when I really was like, okay, I get it, I understand that plants are healing, was when my mother actually came down with multiple sclerosis. She had MS. She was doing, all the regular things that the doctors wanted her to do. She was on steroids, steroid shots every week, taking all the medication. And in about a 2-year period, she had gained a lot of weight from the steroids because they make you gain weight. Her speech was starting to slur. She would start to fall down and just not really be able to control her body. And so after 2 years, I was like, okay, we've done this long enough. I'd healed myself from all these allergies and stuff. I healed my husband from gout. I was like, Mom, let's try something else. And so I put her on a raw food diet. I gave her certain herbs and supplements. And within a month, literally her health transformed at least 90%. And that's when I was like, wow, I really started to believe in the healing power of food and plant-based living and herbs. And MS is something that you're not really supposed to be able to come back from. But that was over 20 years ago. My mom is still here doing her thing, and she's not even still vegan. She does whatever she does, but she has her moments when she comes in and out, but she'll come back and I have to kind of heal her up again. But she's not in a wheelchair. You know what I'm saying? If you've had MS for 20 years, you're either in a wheelchair or you unfortunately passed away. And she didn't have to go down that journey. And I'm grateful, for just the education and her trusting me to try to figure it out. So yeah, that's kind of the healing journey.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, because I think so many people feel like, oh, I don't know, and maybe it's not for me. And I love how you share, look, I just figured it out and I did the best that I could. And I love that you were just transparent about your mom. Like, hey, she might not be vegan now, but this is what she did to heal, and how important it is as a healing basis. And a lot of people will stay plant-based. And I think that's really important, especially now that, veganism is more mainstream. People realize that it's more than just being vegan. It's really committing to eating mostly fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, and eating things that are actually healthy. Can you speak a little bit about the importance of that? Because I know we're in the same school in that, and really, being plant-based and making sure what you're eating is primarily plant is very important.
Yeah, I feel like for me, plant-based means that at least 80% of the food that you're consuming is coming from plants, right? That's it. Vegan is a term now. It wasn't out 30 years ago, 25 years ago, when I started, but at least it was out, but it wasn't popular. Everybody said vegetarian, but at least 80% plants. If you do that, you will see such a large shift in your life and, your energy and your vitality, because those foods have the nutrients that you need, the enzymes, the vitamins, the fiber, all of the vitamins and minerals that we need, you can get from plants. So it's very important to have that. And there's even vegans out there now who don't eat fruits and vegetables. They just live off of soda and Oreos and vegan meat, you know what I'm saying? And that's not necessarily the healthiest diet. And I understand why some people are like, vegans are not necessarily healthy, but you want to be plant-based, meaning you're eating mostly plants. You have mostly plants on your plate. So that's a very important part.
I agree. Wholeheartedly agree. And as you know, Get Loved Up, our pillars are spirituality, wellness, and entrepreneurship. So I kind of want to dive into kind of your spiritual journey and if that was affected at all by your food and what you eat.
It was. I've gone through a lot of different things in my life. I grew up in the church. And then I kind of got out of the church and went anti-church, and then found my way just back to what works for me. And what I realized is I naturally have an affinity towards Native and Indigenous spirituality. Living within the seasons is part of my spiritual process, whether it's the food I'm eating, whether I'm detoxing with the seasons, whether, I'm vision boarding. I do all these things with the seasons, with the solstice, with the equinoxes. I kind of have, I would say, more of a Taoist. I have a mix. We call our spirituality Jeet Kune Do. So Jeet Kune Do is what Bruce Lee's philosophy was, which is kind of just take the best from all things and incorporate it into your way and how you do it. And so that's what I do. I pick up from different types of spiritualities around the world and kind of use what resonates with me best. And then I do practices, the practices of meditation, yoga. I do a lot of affirmations because that just helps me mentally. I'm a Virgo, so I'm always in my head. And those kind of things help to bring me back to a certain space.
I love that. I love that because I feel like that's like almost a spiritual potpourri, and I think that's what's powerful as we're starting to talk about like our differences and cultural differences and things like that, to be able to look at different religions, different cultures, different ways of being and practicing spirituality and taking the ones that resonate with you. Like that's how I found my spiritual path as well. And so kudos to you for, just being honest with yourself. Like this isn't working for me, but this is, and this isn't, this is, because I really feel like individually we all have to do that and be honest. Just because our parents did something or our friends are do something, that might not be what aligns us with our purpose and our core and makes us feel the best. And so I love that you just honor that, not only with the food, but also with your spiritual practice, just finding out what works for you and your family and teaching and leading from that space. That is just so beautiful, so beautiful. Do you feel like that now, especially being a mom, what is it that how do you guide your children? Like, I know a lot of people listening are moms, and especially when it comes to like, okay, I might not want to 100% teach anything that has to do with, fear-based living. I want to do more on like the seasons, like you said. So how do you incorporate that into what you have and what you share with your sons?
It's funny because, kids always come with questions, and they come with questions based a lot of times what other people are telling them. So I ultimately tell them it's up to them to find their own spiritual path. I'm not trying to tell them what to do, what to think, how to do it. I always say it's up to you to decide if you believe in this or believe in that. And my youngest, he has this thing like belief means it's not true. That's how he sees it, right? He's like, well, if you believe it, that means it's not necessarily a fact or true. So I'm working with him on, you can believe in yourself and, those kind of things. But I kind of just, they see what we do. They participate in what we do. I have a 20-year-old who just moved out, and he's very nonchalant, he's very cool, he's very quiet dude, but he's a very brilliant person also. And so he was like our first experiment on the veganism, on spirituality, on our lifestyle, all of that stuff from birth. I was vegan for 5 years before I had him, so from birth to 20, it was like he was our experiment. And what I saw was that you have to practice what you want your kids to do, right? So they do what you do based off what they see, and I wasn't sure if it was in there because my son, when his rebellion was he's eating candy and junk and high, like that was kind of his rebellion because, I don't buy candy, I don't buy juice. We have a pretty healthy household. So he was like, when I'm moving, I'm going to have juice in my house all the time, so stuff like that. So, and he has his spirituality is very similar. He's aware of chakras and native and animal spirits. And, he's aware of all these things and he just uses that however he chooses to use it. But the other day, I was worried like, okay, he's moved out. Is he going to be eating junk food? Is he going to be eating right? Is he going to be taking care of himself? Right. So, but the other day he was like, I've realized that I have to have live food every day. I have to eat fruits, fresh fruits and vegetables. I eat salads all the time. And I was like, what? You feel like that? Yay! I did my job. I was like, I thought he was going to be out here eating all kind of junk food. And he's like, no, I need to eat salad. I need to have fruit in my house. I need to have live food on my plate all the time. I was like, yes. So it's in there. And it's really, if you have those same practices, that's what I've seen. Having those practices for yourself, having those things available for your kids, they're going to just get it through osmosis.
I love that. I love it. You got to practice what you preach. And I love that because that you share like just how nervous, and nerve-wracking it is to wonder, is all of these things that I've taught really going to pay off when they get out on their own? But I think, like you said, when it's a ritual and then they feel it, it's one thing if you just introduce it once in a while, but it's another thing if that's how they grew up. So even if they went and did other things, they would feel the difference. And it sounds like he was like, wait a minute, I'm going to feel different if I do those other things. So I better keep the living food going. I mean, that must make you so proud.
It does. And so what I teach is also to listen to your body, right? Mm-hmm. I've always told him that. I tell my youngest that I do that. And my oldest has learned like, okay, if I do certain stuff, my body doesn't feel good. You know what I'm saying? So if I do these other things, it does feel good. And so he said that to himself. It's about learning yourself. You got to learn how your body feels and listening to your body. So I was like, yay, you got it. It's not about me telling you. It's about you learning your own body and your own self. And that's how I feel about health in general. Mm-hmm. Everyone's body is different. We all come from different backgrounds and ancestry and, pre-existing conditions down our family line. And all of those things matter as far as your choices and what feels good for you and what works for you. So I've been vegan and plant-based for over 30 years, but I can't force someone else to do that if that's not what works with their spirit and their body. So ultimately I say, listen to your body and work what's best for you.
Yes, y'all. She is over 30 and she doesn't even look like it because she's been eating so
way over 30
for so long. And you don't look like it. You don't look a day over 30, but she's been vegan for 30 years. So can you share, because I know now everyone wants to know, what is your personal food philosophy and kind of how you eat like on a regular basis?
My personal food philosophy is I'm a vegan, I'm plant-based. I don't eat any other stuff. I eat as much whole foods as I can. Sometimes I'll eat, some little Beyond Meat or bread here and there. But I'm really trying to focus on more whole foods. And what I realize is I would say every 10 years, you should reevaluate, your diet because your body changes every 10 years. As I'm getting older, I'm seeing that I might have to switch things up a little bit. I can't eat as much junk food as I used to eat and that kind of stuff. So I eat mostly plant-based. I eat a little bit of snacks here and there. That's my philosophy is this. That's what works for me. That's pretty much what I do.
I know you say you don't do juices, and I love juices. So what's your philosophy around juice? And do you do juice now, or is that still something you feel like, you don't incorporate into your diet? And what is the philosophy behind that?
I do fresh juice. I don't buy like Tropicana,
Okay.
I do. And if I'm making a juice in my house, everyone knows it's probably green. It's a green vegetable juice with some fruit in it. So I always do green juice, but I don't buy like a lot of pre-made, pre-packaged juice because it's really a lot of concentrated sugar. That's pretty much what that is. And so I try to keep sugar out of our diets as much as possible. I'll use maple syrup in my tea or honey in my tea sometimes. But that's all that kind of added sugars we have. If I'm baking, I'll use coconut sugar. But I don't bake a lot. I don't allow my youngest is such a snack dude. It's like, if I eat my dinner, can I have a snack? Can I have a snack? It's like every second is, can I have a snack? Can I have a snack? So he has been a challenge of finding, healthy snacks and stuff for him. And if I go out and we have pizza every now and then, I'll let him get a juice or something like that. But I do fresh juice. I just don't do like the prepackaged juice a lot. So.
I'm glad we clarified that because there is a huge difference. Some people they don't do juice at all, and they don't do food at all because they don't understand like that fruit juice and fruit is good for them because it has, all the nutrients and vitamins and minerals. But also the difference between juice that is fresh squeeze or that you make versus that juice out there that's just like has high fructose corn syrup in it. Always check the label and see, because it'll say 100% juice on the front, but if you look at the ingredients, it has high fructose corn syrup, might even have MSG, artificial flavors and coloring. So I'm so glad we pulled that out because I think that's a gray area that especially people that are new to plant-based living or veganism, and they're like, oh, well, I'm having juice, but it's not the juice that's actually juice.
And the difference, okay, so when you have fresh, raw, live juice, you have the fiber, right? You have the vitamins and minerals, and then you have the enzymes, right? Enzymes I like to think of as like batteries in your body. So you know how you have the plus and minus sign of a battery and it has to be right and to work. So that's kind of how enzymes are. They have a positive charge. So they help to ignite certain processes within your body. And so that's the difference between the raw live juice and the juice that comes in the store. The juice that comes in the store, even if it's, organic and all natural, it's still not, it doesn't have that live part, right? And a lot of times it's been cooked down, concentrated, which increases the sugar amount, and there's usually no fiber. So that's going to, spike your blood sugar really quickly. So that's kind of the difference in those two types of juice.
Thank you. I love it. I love it. And so what is a typical day for you? What is a typical, because I know, like you said, and I noticed the same, like as you get older and older, things change. So can you share your initial kind of like vegan diet or nutrition plan and now your current type of, and I know it might be potpourri if it's anything like mine, but can you share a little, because I want to give people kind of like a span of like how it can be healthy, but it can be different depending on where you are in your life.
Yeah, well, I wake up and I always have a beverage. I always have tea. I'm a tea lover. My husband says my body is half tea, half blood. I drink so much tea. I have to have a liquid when I wake up, and usually a warm liquid. So it's a tea. And I usually have peppermint tea with a little hemp milk or oat milk. Or depending on the time of month, I might have some red raspberry or something like that. And then I personally don't eat breakfast until around maybe 3 or 4 hours after I wake up, depending on what's going on. And it'll usually be like oatmeal or grits, a smoothie. I eat pretty light in the morning, and then I have lunch, which will be like soup or a bowl with kale and tofu and rice and, all kind of veggies. Or we eat a lot of ethnic cuisine. So Indian, we have like chana masala, malagatani soup, aloo gobi with some papadum, or some Ethiopian veggie platter. We eat a lot of Thai food. So I'll have like pad see ew or Penang curry or something, so it's like a mix of things that I eat. I eat all kind of stuff all the time. I feel like I'm eating all the time. And my snacks are mostly fruit. One of my favorite snacks, which I do in the fall and the winter when apples are in season, is like apple and some type of nut butter and a medjool date. That's usually my nighttime snack throughout the winter, almost every single day. In the summer, we do a lot of melons. I eat seasonally. So whatever's in season will be what my fruit will be, which is usually my snack. My son's favorite snack is he'll make trail mix with pumpkin seeds, raisins, and like little mini chocolate chips. I'll snack on ice cream sometimes, like coconut-based ice cream. I don't do a lot of bread because yeast doesn't work really well with my body. So sometimes I'll find like a sprouted sourdough bread that doesn't have any yeast, but I usually don't eat that a lot either. So yeah, that's kind of my day, is those types of foods over and over again. If that answers your question.
And if y'all are not, you have to go to YouTube and just see her. She's glowing, she's vibrant. And I just love asking that question because I do have a lot of different people who are plant-based, who are vegan. And I want people to see, like, it doesn't have to be the same to be great, and how diverse it is and how good it is to just find out what works best for you. And so now I want to kind of talk a bit about like your movement practice and what has been your journey, because, you have the FIT Club and, you're into lifting, and what has been your journey? Because I know there's fluctuations as over time. So can you talk a little bit about like your fitness, the fitness part of your practice?
Okay. And so with our brand, RBG FIT CLUB, our motto is find your fitness. So it's not like one thing for everyone, because everyone, like I said, is different. So it's finding your fitness. And so mine has changed, like you said, numerous times in my life. As a young kid, my aunt and my uncle were bodybuilders. And so I lifted weights for a very long time. I kind of wanted to be a bodybuilder, but then I didn't have the discipline to do that. But lifting weights is kind of my basic, that's been my consistent throughout my life. And then in my 20s, I did a lot of martial arts. So I took Wushu Kwan, I did Egbe Ogun, I did a little capoeira. I did a little Jeet Kune Do. So that was mostly my 20s. And in my 30s, I got into yoga And I did a lot of yoga. But yoga, right now, yoga and weights and swimming, those are kind of my three that I rotate, but then I also dance and I rollerblade and skate. I do all kinds of things. So I try to not be bored, and it depends on the season. So in the summers, I'm swimming all summer. I'm not going to the gym. I'm not lifting weights. I swim all summer long, and that's my workout. In the fall and the winter, I'll do more yoga. I'll do more weights, that kind of stuff.
I love that. I love that you mix it up. And I think that keeps you like excited, about working out, and helps, like you said, you move seasonally with the season. So that's beautiful. Thank you.
And then I want to focus also on like strength, flexibility, and endurance kind of. I like to do that. So mix that up throughout the year because, as you get older, you need to have cardio, you need your bones to be stronger, and just the endurance and flexibility is going to matter as we get older. So I kind of try to mix up whatever I do within those groups.
Yeah, I love that. I have to go to the gym. Like during the pandemic, I feel like I kind of stopped a little bit going to the gym because our gym was closed. And I was like, oh, well, I can just add more, leg works and chaturangas to my yoga practice and things like that. But what I found is that over time, like it is a difference with lifting weights. It's a lot easier. You can get stronger faster sometimes, I feel like, in the gym, right?
Yeah, you can. And you see your muscles quicker and all that kind of stuff. So you get toned faster. So. Yeah.
But it's not necessary. You can build it into your yoga practice. You can swim, like all these other things. And I think that's what's important for people to know. Like there's so many different ways to get fit, but sometimes when you want those quick results, adding HIIT to your yoga practice is going to get you there stronger than, just doing yoga by itself, or adding weights, or, also the way you eat is incorporated in there too. So I love that your training is all about having that potpourri and finding what works best for you. That's just brilliant. And now I want to get into kind of the business aspect, because you are a boss mama. Since I first met you, we kind of vibed on the fact that we love food and we love just doing the things that bring us joy. So can you talk a little bit about how did you get started, being an entrepreneur, and what has your journey been?
Wow, I've had a few businesses. My first business was actually crocheting. That was my first business. It was called Who the Cat Fits. I crocheted a lot. I crocheted a lot of Common's hats back when he was in the crochet space. I did a lot of stuff for Erykah Badu. I did something for Talib. And that was my first business. And then I kind of moved away from that. Before I did that, I put out 2 crochet books based off my patterns that were pretty popular at that time. And then I started catering. I was a vegan caterer in Brooklyn, New York, and I used to make these desserts, also these sweet potato pies and apple pies, and sell them in stores. And that was really good for a while. And then I got kind of like, I don't want to be baking all the time, And then after I went to school, I became certified in holistic health counseling. And then after I did that, I started taking clients and having certain clients and teaching cooking classes and things like that. What else? And now, and then I had my own brand, natural.com, where I had an online show and a magazine and all kind of stuff. And then I merged with my husband and we started RBG FIT CLUB, so that we can kind of work together and kind of pool our resources and our energy, because we both are doing a million things. So we wanted to kind of help each other out, and RBG FIT CLUB was formed. And that is our brand that helps to motivate and inspire people to live a healthy lifestyle. And I'm currently working on a new brand. I know it's a lot. I'm currently working on a new brand that's going to incorporate all the things that I love to do, from crocheting, gardening, cooking, holistic health, finance. So that will be coming in 2022. And that's what I'm pretty much excited about. And I enjoy being an entrepreneur. It's a lot of work. It's not easy, but it's easier now with social media than it has ever been before, because before social media, it was a whole nother ball game. So now you can reach way more people around the world through your business just from social media.
So true. So true. And just so y'all know, I'm smiling so hard, my cheeks hurt because Sophia, she has the biggest, brightest smile. And so I want to kind of ask you, like, kind of getting into that, like, what do you feel like? Because a lot of people like, yeah, even with social media, it's still hard. So what advice will you give that person out there that is looking to, you know, number one, start the vegan lifestyle, and number two, you know, taking their passions and turning it into a career?
Well, starting a vegan lifestyle, you have to just, you know, why do you want to be vegan? You know, I think that is the main question that's going to keep you on the journey. But now it's easier than ever, you know, to be a vegan. It's vegan everywhere. There's restaurants, there's all kind of food, Target, everybody has vegan options. It's all kind of websites with recipes and all kind of stuff. So right now is the easiest time ever in history to be a vegan. But having your why, but it's still, you know, a discipline, right? Because when you are eating out with your friends and your family and they getting fried chicken and steak and whatever, what are you going to order on your plate, right? So having that why of why you want to do it. Are you doing it for your health? Are you doing it for the animals? You know, what is your why? That will kind of keep you focused on your journey. Having enough knowledge, make sure that you do your research, you know, because I've seen that people can start a vegan lifestyle, but then, like I said, they're just drinking soda, eating sandwiches and cookies, and then be like, oh, it didn't work for me. I became protein deficient. I didn't have enough energy. But did you actually do the research to make sure that you were getting the nutrients that you needed and things like that? So that's actually why I wrote my book, The Vegan Soul Food Guide, because it's a cookbook and a guide with nutrients and where to shop, what to buy, how to eat out, all of that kind of stuff. So just do your research first, know your why, and make sure that you are eating a variety of fruits and vegetables, a green vegetable every single day, every meal if possible, those kind of things. But as far as a business, I've learned to just be myself as much as possible. And people want, and I'm still learning, I'm still trying and seeing what, you know, resonates with people the most. And what I see is that people want information that they can use, right? They want a resource. They want humor. You know, there's little different things that will bring people to your page, but ultimately it's about being authentically you. And how can you be authentically you, but be of service to others? Because if you're just there and just not really being any service to anyone else, people are probably not going to be watching you or looking at your page. But what service, what can you give to other people? So it's really about giving to other people for them to want to come and be on your page.
I love that. That's so true. Like, how can you serve? How can you give? And I love the advice of just like, you know, greens with every meal. I even put greens in my smoothie, greens. So that's greens for breakfast, greens for lunch, greens for dinner. I highly agree with you. And I think that's such great advice. So y'all heard it, not only from me, but also from Afya. Greens in every meal, make it happen. And then also, like, I do think that, you know, when someone's on that journey, like just really knowing, like, what is it that brings you joy? You know, and I feel like that's what you illuminate. That is your essence. That is everything that you do. Have you ever had a time, because a lot of people are going and then they like, oh man, I thought I had it going, and then everything just falls apart. Like, how have you been able to, what are some of the things that you do? Like, can you share a story of how when things fell apart for you and it took you some time to pick it back up?
Let's see. There's numerous times. Let me think of one. You know, I've been in a 28-year relationship. Me and my husband have been together for 28 years. Mm-hmm. And it has not been perfect. And it has not been easy. We've been together since we were, 18 and 19 years old. So we've grown up together, and there's definitely been times and spaces where we've had really hard times, really hard times, really growing, and learning together. And sometimes you just have to take time to cry. Mm-hmm. You have to cry and let things out and be patient with yourself, forgive yourself, and I would say working on forgiveness was a really hard time for me. But how did I pick myself up from that space? I did a lot of reading on just forgiveness, and, forgiving someone does not mean that what they did was right or that you agree, but you forgive someone so that you're not holding that anymore, right? Because when you are holding anger and things, you're holding that energy in yourself. That other person is not feeling that. They don't have anything to do with that. That's all you. And when I came to a space of like, I can't continue to hold this anger and drama and tension, I had to really focus on forgiveness. So I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of meditating. I came up with mantras and I still do mantras and affirmations in my head, because, your mind can be all over the place and you can be like, how did I start thinking about that negative thing? And so retraining my brain through affirmations and through mantras, because it has been scientifically shown that you can rewire your brain and your thinking by your thoughts. So I would do that. I would be like, okay, I'm thinking this negative thought. What's my affirmation for this? What's my mantra for this? And say that over and over and over again in my brain. So yeah, sometimes just crying, saying your mantras, saying your affirmations, and sometimes exercising. Sometimes you can there was one time when I did 108-day yoga practice called the Ultimate Yogi at a really hard time that helped me really heal emotionally and physically, because I had that practice, 1 hour practice every day, to kind of just release that energy that I was feeling.
Yes. I love that you said it, just release the energy, because people don't realize, like, when things happen to you, that energy goes into you, your cells, your organs, your everything. And whether it be like writing or any type of movement you do, is actually releasing that energy.
Yes. And it will literally stay in your body and show up as health problems, right? So you could be holding all this anger and tension, and it's in your liver, and now you have liver problems or kidney problems, or you have cysts or bumps or all these things inside of you because your emotions affect your body. You know what I'm saying? And so if you don't know how to let that go, you don't have any practices to kind of let those things go, it's going to turn up some kind of way, in a negative way, inside of you.
So true. So true. Like, yeah, those things are trapped energy. And, I love that book, The Body Keeps Score, because it really goes into like, the science behind the body, holding on to that energy and just being able to release it. So, and when you say forgiveness, forgiveness is for you. I mean, that goes back to our ancestors, y'all, our Native American ancestors. Forgiveness is for you, not the other person that you have to give. Forgiveness is for you. But not only did you forgive, y'all are doing business together. So can you talk a little bit about not only forgiving, but also choosing? Because some people forgive and like, okay, you do you, I'm going to do me. We're going to do this thing together. But it's like, no, you're to the point where like, and I feel like that is a testament to how much you've forgiven, because you're actually able to grow and thrive together. And I think that's different than forgiving in parting ways. So can you share a little bit about that journey and what is taking you to not only forgive, but to thrive in your relationship?
I think it takes both people to work on themselves. You both have to be willing to grow. You both have to be willing to own your own shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, okay, I be nagging too much, but you be da-da-da. You know what I'm saying? So like, how can I own my own stuff? How can you own your own stuff? How can we grow together? Right now, I have learned more and realized more than ever how your upbringing, how the home that you lived in affects you currently and in your relationship, right? So how did your parents treat each other? Right? Did you have both parents? Which parent did you live with, and how did they act? What did they do? How did they talk? Those kind of things. And if you see dysfunction, right? Whether they tell you something or not, you're seeing that. So you're learning that through osmosis and don't even realize it until you go into a relationship and start doing those same things, right? And so I see now like, oh, okay, my upbringing affected me in this way, and I'm seeing it in my relationship in this way. But you have to be mindful, right, of that, and then work on not doing those things, or how can I be better, or whatever. And I see that you have to be in a long-term relationship to be able to work on that kind of stuff, right? Because if you're just in little quick relationships, you don't even necessarily see your patterns, right, of how you're behaving. And when you're with someone for a long period of time, you can kind of reflect those things back to each other, or see your habits or see your patterns. And not that you have to be in a long-term relationship, but it may take you longer to see your patterns if you're not, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So yeah, just seeing how, your upbringing really matters in your relationships, and just being mindful of the negative and positive things that you got from your family.
I love that. I think a lot of people are going to really look at, and me included, like I really believe that when you have that long-term relationship and when you work through things together, that's when you get your most growth. Because a lot of people are into, and everyone to each his own, but whether you have multiple people in a relationship, or whether you have multiple relationships or multiple marriages, whatever it is, I agree with what you said, even though, I've never been married myself. But when you are in a long-term relationship, you really get to see your patterns. And if both people are willing to grow and evolve in the relationship, that's when you see a lot of growth. So thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's really important to know. And especially, being in a relationship, so long, but still being relatively young, I think that's really important for people to hear and to know, because we are in cancel culture, and that includes relationships. So I think that's really great advice for people to hear right now. Just, how much work it takes, how much forgiveness it takes, how much commitment to self-growth it takes to have a long-term relationship.
Yeah. And, it's easy to leave. That's the easy part, right? Anybody can leave and be out. The hard part is staying and doing the work, and realizing that, you are what you attract, right? And so what are you giving out to the world, whether it's your partner, your family, whomever? And if you're not seeing what you feel like you're giving out, either you're in the wrong scenario, or you're not really giving out what you think you're giving out, if that makes sense. So it goes back to your own self-work, and what are you doing? What are you giving out? And what are you putting out into the world?
I love that. Thank you so much. So amazing. Okay, well, we're getting close to the end of our session, so I really want to kind of dive in a little bit more personal preferences from you. So I want to personally ask you, when things aren't great, when you have a bad day, how do you get loved up? How do you start pouring into yourself so you can maintain for your children, for your partner, and for the world?
Music is a big thing for me. I have my playlist. Every birthday, I start a new playlist and gather songs throughout the year. Music is a very big part for me. It just brings me into a certain space. And if I'm having a bad day or whatever, I know I can turn on my certain songs and get my dance on and change my energy. Or getting out in nature. I'm either in the garden and I got to touch some soil, or go on a walk in our neighborhood. So nature and music are my two things that are my go-to, or a hot shower. If I just want to sit in a nice hot shower, those are, I think, my three things that will get my energy to shift if I've had a bad day.
I love that. And I love that we're both like plant enthusiasts. Can you talk a little bit about the power of plants and like why you have incorporated them into your life in a big way?
Well, I feel like plants are the part of the world and the earth that have so much power because they have so many nutrients, right? They have so many vitamins and minerals and elements that our body needs, and it's automatically here for us, right? And trees themselves are like the lungs of the earth, right? They give off oxygen and they take our carbon dioxide. We have a symbiotic relationship with plants. They're here, we feed them, we help them grow, and vice versa. And so that's why they're so powerful, because they have so many things and they've been here for so long, right? They've been here for so long, and we learn. I learned from plants. I learned from growing. I learned so much from just the process of even growing food. I've learned you can't give up on things when it seems like they're dead on the outside, right? Because sometimes it'll start sprouting. You're like, dang, I thought this plant was dead, right? But it's like, no, I'm just going through a little transition, a process, and then it'll start sprouting up green again. I'm like, what? So just so many things I learned from just the plant life, and that I get and I benefit from. So
that's so reflective in life. Like we were just talking in relationships, you never know when a person is going through their own rebirth. You might think, oh, that person is dead or their relationship is dead, when really it just needs a little water, a little sun, a little love, a little nurturing. That's so beautiful. And time, right? Sometimes plants will look dead and you'd be like, there was really a plant. There was an aloe plant on my patio that I was like, okay, this aloe plant is dead. I'm going to get rid of it. I had plans for the pot that it was in, all that stuff. But I got busy and time went by. And as time went by, it started to come back to life. Wow. Right. And so I was like, wow, sometimes you have to give things time to grow, time to change, and so I've learned that too from just plants. I love that. Thank you so much for that. That's so good. I remember I had some orchids and they were growing and I'm like, they're going to come back. They're going to come back. I don't think I waited long enough. I think I waited a whole month and I was like, I think they're gone. Because that happened before. Like one time I had an orchid and it died and I just left it and it came back. And so I waited a month. I was like, oh, maybe these are really gone, but maybe it would have took maybe a couple more months. Who knows?
Yeah.
I love that. So what is the favorite book? We've all been in the house for a while. What's the favorite book you've read in the last year?
Good question. Let me think. It was Michelle Obama's book.
Becoming.
Yeah, that was my favorite. She was just so real and personable. It's like, wow, she started as a young Black girl just like me and did all of these things and became, the first lady. And so it just made me feel like so much is possible, for who I am and who a lot of people are. So many things are possible. It just gave me a sense of hope for what I could do in my life. So I would say that was my favorite book this year.
Love that. Yeah, that's one of my favorites too. And I don't know if you listen to the audio. Actually, I had the book and I had the audio, and I just loved hearing her voice.
Yes, me too.
It was like she's like my friend. We just talking.
Yep.
I love that. And what has been kind of your favorite, has there been one thing? I know you said your go-to snack, but has there been a comfort food that you've had over the last period that you normally wouldn't have so much, but you're like, you know what? I deserve it. I'm going to let myself, this is my unguilty pleasure.
Yes, it is the vegan croissants at Whole Foods. Dude, I was going so hard on those. I was like, okay, I need to chill out. The vegan croissants at Whole Foods. Once I saw they had vegan croissants, I hadn't had a croissant in years. I don't even know how many years. I just went way too hard. I bought them. I put them in the freezer. I just was having them on deck all the time. And then I had to just chill out because I was doing too much.
I love it. A lot of people don't know about those vegan croissants at Whole Foods, but I agree. They're so good. I even make sandwiches out of them.
Yes.
Toasted. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you.
All kind of stuff. I put cream cheese on it, a sandwich, jelly, all kind of stuff. Yes. Plain. I was just going in real too hard.
Awesome. We need those unguilty pleasures every now and then.
Yes.
All right. And then if we could wake up and it was Afya's world, what would it look like?
You mean just the world out here in general?
Yes. If you could just snap your fingers and you're like, boom, 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 boom. This is what I would do. This is what I would do. This is This is how the world would be when we woke up tomorrow. The world could
Okay.
be look any way you want it to look.
Let's see. Everyone would have a place to live, and food to eat. We would all be healthy. Our government and the system that we live in would be based off people's health and happiness and not just capital, because we live in a capitalist society. We would all be focused on growth and change and meditating and being happy and loving. Everyone have the basic, everything they need, the basics. You ain't got to be millionaires. They could be millionaires and all of that, but everyone would have their basic needs met. So
I love that. And what advice would you give your 14-year-old self growing up right now? What would you tell her to make sure that she felt seen and heard?
Good question. Everything that you need is already inside of you. It's just about doing the work, having the discipline and focus to do what you want, but you already have it all inside of you. So just do it. Do that discipline. Write them plans. Get to work, and get to work now. So
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. This has been a soul treat. I can't wait to see you in person and hug you and connect.
Me too.
Have our sisterhood time. But thank you so much for dropping by. Can you let everyone know what you have coming up? Because I know you have a project. You have a couple projects you can't talk about, but you have something people can grab right now.
My latest project is the 5-season detox. It's an ebook where we have all types of detox plans for each season, and we focus on 2 organs per season to cleanse and nourish. I talk about what foods to eat for the season, what herbs to take. There's also self-love practices. And then along with the ebook, I also sell the detox tea mixes. So I have a lung and colon, a kidney and bladder, and a liver and gallbladder tea detox that you can also purchase on our site, RBG FIT CLUB. And I'm working on a brand new brand that's going to be so dope and exciting. There's a mix of all the things I do, from gardening, cooking, finance, holistic health, and that's going to be coming out in 2022. So I hope you guys check that out.
Definitely. Y'all check her out. Check out the book she already has out. Check out her ebook and just stay tuned because she is always dropping goodness into the world. So make sure that you also follow her on social media. Let us know your biggest, she dropped a lot of gems in this episode. So let us know your biggest takeaways from this episode. Tag her, tag me, and make sure you're getting loved up every single day. Thank you again for showing up. Again, if you haven't left a review already, please leave a review. Let us know your biggest takeaways on social media. We'll definitely repost you. And just thank you so much for dropping in with us, for listening to us. And until next time, love yourself, love others, and love the world. One day at a time, one breath at a time. Peace and love.
I just want to take a moment to say thank you for being part of the Get Loved Up community. I like to share topics and people making a positive impact in the world, and your feedback means the world to me. If you haven't already left a review, please leave a 5-star review and let me know what you want to hear more of on the show. I'm here for you, and together we're making the world a better place, one day at a time, one show at a time. Thank you for listening.